and welcome to another episode of the iPad Lettering Show. I am Karen from iPad Lettering, and in today's episode we are not actually going to use the iPad, but I thought I'll do a quick video with my phone, and I want to show you how I'm making these colorful initials pieces that you would have seen on my Instagram. So let's get started. I'm just going to show you all the ones that I have made already. So there is a whole list of letters that I've made already, and the reason why I make them is just as a little entertainment, I should say. Maybe I'm in a meeting or I have to wait somewhere. So this is what I call a creative snack, and it just allows me to explore different colors and different patterns and just have a bit of fun creatively while I'm not doing anything else. Yeah, sometimes it is procrastination, I admit, but I'm just having a lot of fun doing it. And also you would have seen me using this type of brush. So this is a Sensu Artist stylus, and the way it works is that it has got two tips. It's got the normal sort of stylus tip, and then it's got a little brush here. And this is not a brush that you want to use to paint with. This is actually a stylus. So this transfers the heat from your hands onto the screen, and that's how it becomes touch sensitive. So it's quite handy because you can close it like this, and then you can sort of carry it around with you. And then if you want to use it, you just turn it around and then it becomes this handy brush. Very cool. So I like it a lot. It's called Sensu, and I will link to it below the video. Alright, so now let's have a look at the next letter that I'm about to do, which is the letter Q. So I'm just going to bring this up. And this is actually a template that I made, and you can find all these templates on my website as well. They are called Initials Template, and I will definitely put a link below the video as well. And so when we open this up, you probably can't see it that much, but it's got sort of a faint outline of the letter Q. So now let's have a look what's included in the template. Let's open up the layers panel, and then you'll see that we have got a filled letters layer. We've got the letter outline layer, and then a layer that says paint here. So this is where you actually want to paint, and it's selected by default. And then above we have a paper texture, and then an optional sketching layer. So pretty much all you have to do is just make sure that you've got the paint here layer selected, and then you are good to go. Now in terms of brushes, what's really cool about Procreate Pocket is that you can use any Procreate brush in here as well. So what I've done is I've imported all my brushes from the Advanced Lettering set into here. So if we go to Watercolor, these are all the brushes that I'm using on the phone. So the most important ones probably that you want to look at are the Massive Splats Fill, the Splash Fill, and the Spotty Fill. So these are the ones that I use for making a sort of spotty watercolory background. And then the Fine Dots, just to add a few dots. I also use the oil brush, even though it's in my watercolor folder. This is actually a default brush that comes with Procreate, and you would find that in, I think, in the artistic section. Yep, there it is. So there's the oil paint brush here. Turpentine actually works quite nicely as well. Let's go back to watercolor, and then there's a few of my other lettering brushes that you might use, but I don't find lettering works that well on the phone. So I tend to do more painting, more sort of abstract kind of work on the phone. Alright, so let's select the Splats Fill brush to start with, and then a nice color. So this is a color scheme that I've made for myself that I like using quite a lot. And usually what I do is start with a darker color, and then I paint the lighter colors on top. But that's really totally up to you where you want to start. So we can just paint some splotches randomly on the screen, and then choose a different color, maybe pink. And so we can just add color on the screen. Now you see me doing this with the brush. Now let me show you what happens if I turn the brush around and use the tip of the brush instead. And you can see it works exactly the same way. So really using the bristles here is just a fun way for me to use this. So it's not mandatory that you use this. You can just use any stylus that you want with the phone. It doesn't matter. The Apple Pencil unfortunately doesn't work with the phone, which is a real shame. Actually, let me show you what happens when I do that. So I've got the Apple Pencil here, and no, nothing. It doesn't work. It doesn't transfer the heat from my hand onto the screen. That's why it doesn't work. The iPad actually has an extra screen that's built in that reacts with the pencil, and that's why it works with the iPad but not with the phone, unfortunately. Alright, so now let's choose another color and add some more splatters here, and in this time I'm just going to paint it on the side here. Alright, so now this looks like a big mess. Let's see how we can improve this a little bit. So one of the things I like to do is use Gaussian blur to create a gradient for this, and to do that you bring up the adjustments panel and then you select Gaussian blur, and then it says here slide to adjust, and I recommend that you use your finger to do that. It's a little bit more precise than using the brush, and then you can just blur it as much as you like, maybe like this. And now you see it's quite blurry, so let's duplicate this a few times to make it a bit more intense. So I'm duplicating this, see what it looks like. It's not too bad. So at the moment it still looks like a big mess, but let's see what happens if we now select the filled layer to create a mask for our paint layer. So let's tap on the filled letter and then tap again on the thumbnail to bring up the menu, and then choose select here. So now this creates a selection mask with this filled letter. Let me show you what this looks like. So I'm tapping down, and you can see here now that we've got the selection mask. So now what we want to do is create a mask for just the letter Q around the colors. So let's go back to our layers panel, and then select your paint layer and tap on the thumbnail and then select mask. So now you can see here how we've got this layer mask that has been created from the selection of our filled letter down here below. Alright, so let's tap done and see what happens. So at the moment it doesn't look like it's that much different, but you can see that we now have got the outline of the letter Q. And let's also deselect the selection. So you have to tap on modify, and then this here, the blue highlighted is, this is the selection tool, so we want to unselect that. And now we have the Q separated with the mask. So this looks pretty cool, but I think we can improve this a little bit more. So now what you can do is you can either create a new layer, so this will create a new layer above, or you can paint on the same layer. Now I always recommend that you actually create a new layer, and we can always mask that layer again. So yeah, let's do that. So we have a new layer and we tap done, and so now we can add some more splatters onto the Q. So let's select the spotty fill brush for this one, and then maybe just make it a little bit smaller. So now we're going to add some more splatters in, and I will select the purple color again, and I just want to sort of have it around the edges, and this time I don't want it to be too intense, so I'll just do some fine splatters around the edges. Let's see what kind of colors would look like. They create a bit of interest and a bit of contrast with the background, and then some, maybe some lighter yellow here as well, just ever so slightly. So this doesn't look too bad. Now let's mask this layer as well. So we open the layers panel again, select the filled letter, tap on the thumbnail, choose select to create the selection, and then on the layer where you want to create the mask, select the layer, tap on the thumbnail, and then hit mask. So now we've got another mask, and if we hit done, you'll see what happened. So now we've created this nice little mask there, and then unselect. So now we have masked out our second layer as well. Alright, so now this looks pretty good to me. Now what I want to do is create a little shadow underneath the letter. So let's see how we can do that. The best way to do that is create a new layer above all your other layers, and then select the black color and the airbrush. So there is airbrushes here that come as part of Procreate Pocket, and there is a medium airbrush, and select that. You can either select the soft or the medium. Actually, maybe let's select the soft airbrush, and then we can just paint in this line here. Maybe make it a bit straighter. Doesn't matter too much. So just paint a little line like that. And now we're going to use the Gaussian blur to make it a little bit softer. So choose your adjustments, Gaussian blur, and then blur this out. So maybe like this. This looks pretty good. And then select the layer while you're here. And now we're just going to shrink this and position it a little bit. So I'm going to make it a bit flatter. Maybe a bit smaller as well. Okay. And now it's still quite intense. So now let's also change the opacity. So this is also part of the adjustment. So you select opacity and then we'll slide it to the left just to take some of the opacity off it. We only want it ever so slightly, maybe like this. And done. And so now we turn it around. And there you have it. This was an easy little creative snack to create the letter Q with some fun colors using a layer mask. If you like this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you have ideas for other tutorials that you would like to see, leave a comment below, and I will see you next time.